In 1919, he hit 29 home runs and was sold to the New York Yankees.
A three-run home run for Buffington. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Bill Lee is now going over to a couple of the Yankees, and there they go again.
Ball hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series.
Varitek and A-Rod going at it. Roberts is going. Posada's throw. Roberts safe.
And what can I say? Just tip my hat and call the Yankees my daddies.
Welcome to Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. I get the lumberjack version of me. You like the mustache?
Yeah, the Selleck is working.
Yeah, it's starting to flow. My wife said she won't kiss me or do other things until I shave it, though.
I got the go, yard goats,
yeah, so
go.
I'm lumberjack, you're yard goat mode, which we were just talking off camera that we can't wait
for
to
baseball.
Watch some real baseball.
Seriously.
And so this is one of our favorite episodes. John Senecal, Brian Shackman here. John came up with this great idea because we love lists, right? We're going to do favorite three, least favorite three for each team, and we're both going to do both teams. So I'm going to do my three favorite Yankees, three least favorite, my favorite Red Sox, my three least favorite Red Sox, and you're going to do the same.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll have some crisscrosses because we have a lot of players that played on both teams.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Like you might hate Jacoby Ellsbury. Don't even give it away.
A lot of people might hate Jacoby Ellsbury.
I had a lot of honorable mentions too. I mean, especially on the favorite side, it was hard.
Yeah,
for me.
So
to pick.
that's funny you say honorable mentions because when I was making the list, I wrote a sidebar with honorable mentions, and inside some of those honorable mentions, there was lists inside the honorable mentions.
It's like when you made the honor roll and then like the second level of honor roll.
Right.
I don't look at my sheet, by the way.
Participation medals.
Let's start with the Yankees.
Okay, are we going to start top? Are we going to start favorite or least?
Yeah, I think we'll start with favorite.
We got to start with a good tone. It's 2021.
Totally. My list of favorites will be so different because I didn't. Some of the guys you loved.
In no particular order, though, right?
Unless
no
you
particular
choose it.
order.
Unless you choose
No,
it.
because then we're going to go into a deeper dive. I don't want to go too deep.
That's fine. That's fine.
Let's just leave it at favorite and least favorite.
And that's fine.
And not 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2,
And
1.
I do want to point out the distinction that I found in these lists is that the people you love on the Yankees could end up being the ones that I hate.
Exactly.
Because they're so great. So the ones that I like probably won't make your list. You know what I mean? Because I liked fringe, maybe the guys that weren't the guys, right? Because I just sort of liked them.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the reasons behind some of these too.
Okay, because that's going to be good. So you start with your three favorite. I'll do my three
Are
favorite.
we going to go 1, 2, 3, or are we going to do 1, 1, and then
no,
2, 2?
I think you should do all three of
But then we're
yours.
going to have to explain all three.
Yeah, we'll talk about them. Take our time.
Okay.
So
I'm going to go 1, 2, 3?
Yep. Give me your first favorite Yankee.
All right, my first favorite that I came up with that first popped in my head was Greg Nettles.
I mean, I didn't even think about it.
All right, now the reason behind that, not only is his name cool because you never see it spelled that way, Graig, Greg.
Like they couldn't choose between Craig and Greg.
Right, they just went. They were just like, they just threw it out there. Not only that, but like I remember as a kid watching the Yankees, and I mean, I know I was little, but that dude seemed like he could fly at third base.
Right.
It just felt like every night I watched him, he was horizontal. And he was just amazing. And he was a great ball player. 22 years in baseball. He played.
He made it that long.
22 years.
But not a Hall of Famer, right?
2,225 hits.
Wow. That's
390 home runs. You know what killed him? His batting average.
He was what, like 260s?
248.
Oh, wow, that is low. For that era,
1,300 RBIs.
You know, it's funny you say that because when you say Craig Nettles, I think of one thing.
Greg Nettles.
Greg Nettles.
See? Already forgetting about the way they spell it.
What I think of is a photo of him parallel to the ground.
Exactly.
That's the image I have of Greg Nettles.
And I feel like as a young kid, that he was flying almost.
Yeah.
You know, like a superhero to me.
So he's not in either one of my lists, but I think it's a great call, and I'm surprised by that call. But I think that the one thing I've noticed, John, is that with my list, it skews a little harder to when I was young.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting.
Yes.
Not as much when I'm an adult.
And I'm going to throw a bonus after all this is done. I asked my two boys for their Yankees, three favorite and least favorite, and we'll see like how the age difference plays out too.
All right,
Number two, you know it's going to come. Donnie Baseball. I mean, he was the one that I was just that was who I wanted. That was my guy. Wanted to be like Don, not like Mike.
He didn't make my bad list, but I always, and I want to hear what you say about this. I always said, what's the big deal about Don Mattingly? Why do people love him? Never won anything. He was good, but I personally, as a Boston Red Sox fan, I was like, why do they make such a big deal of this guy? Just because he was like the best guy on a bad team?
Exactly, and he was a very good ball player. He came in his rookie year. He won the batting title his rookie year. And it's just a lot of flavor. I mean, he was not like the flashy guy. He was your gritting guy. He kind of was bucking the trend with the mustache and the long hair. Trim your sideburns, Mattingly.
Yeah.
So I think it just was he was just the guy. He was what the Yankees. He honestly, when you think about it, for the time, he was what the Yankees had.
Right.
He was their guy. I mean, Winfield was around a little bit. Like they battled it out in '85 and stuff. But it's just. He was what the Yankees had.
And again, he was the best Yankee from your childhood.
Yes, he was the guy I looked up to, and I actually met him a couple of times. I met him once in spring training. I met him once at like a baseball card show dinner. It wasn't like like one of those things you just go through.
So you had a little time with him.
Yeah, and I met him at spring training. I met his first wife, Kim.
How many does he have? Just two?
No, I think he's on to his second, but I think Kim went a little cuckoo. But I did meet her, and she was very nice. She was very nice, and I was young, but it was they're good memories though. Right. They're really good memories, and he was an excellent ball player, and it's unfortunate that he left, and the strike screwed that season in '94, and he was gone in '95, and the Yankees obviously got to the playoffs, tasted it, but.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, not on either one of my lists. I never was a big fan because I was always like, why do they make such a big deal of him?
The man with the golden glove.
Yeah. Okay, number 3.
Number 3, I'm going with obviously Derek Jeter. Because you know what? I mean, obviously, for me personally, that is the guy I wrap all my championships around, right? That's who I identify with, other than the other core 4 and all that. But he is the man of the generation when they're winning. And of course, if their team's winning, you're gonna have a little bit more love for it.
Now, I will just say, I don't hate anybody, but he is definitely in competition for my least favorite 3.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting. I can't wait to hear that.
So, I'm not even going to give it to you now. But I mean, obviously, when I think of Derek Jeter on the field, what was it, the game against Oakland where he did the scoop to home plate or the relay rate? I mean, that to me in the moment is one of the greatest plays of my lifetime, and I think he was great. But I'll give you more of why he either is in my bottom 3 or is right on the fringe. But I would say that I'm trying to think. I'm a little surprised that more people from the late '90s era didn't make it. I'm surprised that Pettit, Mariano. That surprises me that they didn't clip it.
It's a tough list to make. 3 is a tough list.
It is.
Any top 3, and then you start taking into account all the great players.
Give me one name that was really close.
Okay, so obviously, one of my honorable mentions I went with the youth movement in the 90s, the early 90s, with the Kevin Moss, the Bernie Williams, the Andy Stankiewicz, the Hensley Mullins, Bam Bam, Pat Kelly. But that was for a Yankees fan. I like Bernie. That kind of signaled that they were going to stop the whole, I'm going to go out and get the Balboni and those guys and start looking more towards their youth movement, and that's what started their championship run. Right. That and some veterans and some steroids and some.
Yeah, but there's no doubt that the homegrown guys made that championship set of teams work.
Absolutely,
there's no doubt about it.
So I listed those guys. Not so many. Those aren't other than Bernie. Those aren't really super memorable Yankee names. Right. And I got to remember Kevin Moss because, he set that huge record at the time was a record for most rookie home runs, and then he disappeared in the blink of an eye.
There you go. Yeah, so I'm going to give you, this is John Senecal, I'm Brian Shackman. This is Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. We're giving our top 3 and bottom 3 for each team, for each person, and this has been really fun to go through. Now, my 3 favorite Yankees could be based on like minor things. So I'm just going to tell you each name. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 since it's not my team, and I'm going to tell you a quick reason why, and then you can react, okay? And this is in no particular order. Ron Guidry.
Louisiana Lightning.
Just small guy, threw smoke, lefty, just loved him.
I'll tell you a good story about him afterwards.
And Righetti's the same thing. He was a lefty too.
Rags.
I thought I liked him as a starter actually, and there just was something that I really glommed on to lefties. Steve Carlton was my favorite player for a while when I was really little because I was a lefty. And
is that why you like Kevin Nathan so much?
No, I don't know. I have to go on the psychoanalyst couch for that a little bit. But those 2 guys, I just was into these sort of undersized guys who just brought it. And my third one is a pitcher too, and there's only one reason. And he's not even a defined Yankee. He's more defined maybe as a Baltimore Oriole.
Moose.
Yes. And you know why? I was at a bar. We were at like some function when he had that perfect game going against the Red Sox.
Yeah, and Carl Everett broke it up.
Jurassic
Former
Carl.
Yankee.
But you know what? We were sitting at the bar, and I was cheering for him. Like, I didn't like the Yankees at that point. And Mussina, he was just a robot. Like, just a machine.
Well, he was the famous thing is he tells Torrey, I'm not coming out.
Yeah.
And Torrey's like, all right.
But I wanted him to get that.
Yes.
And especially
Yes.
getting broken up by a bad guy. You know what I mean? It's just, I didn't
So
even
close.
I didn't put Carl Everett in my bottom 3 because I didn't think of him because I don't think he's significant enough
No,
to pay
he's not.
attention to. But I mean, just a bad guy. And I just remember being at the bar and people, those moments you've watched games like
Kinda
in a bar?
unite together.
Well, everyone stops and
Yep.
watches. I remember the 92 Kentucky Duke game was another one. We were at a college party. Literally the party stopped and 50 just over hormone dudes just focused on a 12-inch TV. And it's the same with the Mussina game. Everybody where I was just stopped to watch that baseball game. And I felt bad for him, but that made me like him just because I was so caught up in that moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, well, that's, you associate something with it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these with us are associative stuff, but I mean, when it comes to because there's no Yankees that I truly loved, but those are the guys that I really like.
Well, it's also hard when it's not your team because I had a little bit of tougher time too with the Red Sox, as far as like
Who you liked.
popping into my head right away.
But
it
the
wasn't.
easiest thing is guys you don't like.
Oh,
And
exactly.
so let's go to the
exactly.
Yankees, guys you don't like. This was way easier. I had a really tough time coming down to 3, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then I'll give you my quick honorable mentions and won't even describe it. But why don't you start us off? Because I'm interested in yours because this is your team.
Okay. The first one is everybody. I mean, everyone. This is what everyone thinks I'm going to say, but I'm not going to say it. There's 2 people.
Wait, you have
It's either-
2 people?
No. There's 2 people that if you're a Yankees fan, you think I'm going to say right now, and I'm going to go with Carl Pavano. He just drives me nuts. I don't
Just
know
because he came here and did nothing?
he did nothing.
There's like
all right.
100 players that did that.
So
I mean-
he pitched 145 innings for the Yankees, right?
That's it.
Okay, 182 hits. He had 9 wins. So he had a winning record, which is a really good positive thing. All right.
But more hits than innings.
Yes. Now let's listen to the earned runs here. Take a guess.
6.7.
No, earned runs overall, not ERA.
In 145 innings?
145 innings with 182 hits.
So maybe 110?
Earned runs? Oh my God, no way.
It's too high.
Too low. 196.
Earned runs in
Yeah.
145 innings. That's insane. That's over. What's his ERA?
5.
That's crazy.
He's awful.
Yeah, I mean,
And he was making what, 12 million a year or 10 million a year, whatever
Yeah.
he was. If he was
I just
making
remember,
27
they should've
cents a
never
year, it
signed him.
wasn't worth it.
I told you this. We did this in an earlier podcast. I interviewed his mom after the Marlins won at Yankee Stadium, and she couldn't have been less kind to
Yeah,
the
and
Yankees.
it was like a soap opera. It was, well, first of all, he's dating Alyssa Milano. Then he's got a fractured rib because he backed
I don't
into
blame
a
him
fire
for that,
hydrant, or you know what I mean. Like it was always something with him, and he never did anything. He just didn't. Like, what did he do other than piss Yankee fans off?
The only counter I'd have is that there were a lot of free agent signings in our lifetime that panned out to be squat for the Yankees. But I'll grant you that. Okay, number 2.
Number 2, I'm gonna go with. All right, I'll go with Jim Leyritz.
Oh God, that's great because he did some great things.
Right, and it's weird. It sucks
But I
because
don't like him either. He
if
didn't
it
make my
wasn't
list.
for Jim Leyritz, we might not be World Series champions in
He
'96.
was such a prick.
But once he gets off the field, I mean, all right. So I remember Jim Leyritz from when he played for the Albany Yankees,
Right.
and he was as cocky as you could ever imagine. He would twirl his bat, shake his ass up in the hip, like when you watch Major League and that the guy cranks off of Vaughn. What's that guy's name? More nose hairs than.
Oh yeah, it was Pete Vukovich or whatever.
The big ass Yankee guy.
Yeah.
So it was like him. He was just a cocky dude, but he was good. He could play. But then, he gets out of baseball afterwards and he just becomes a complete piece of shit.
So
he kills someone in a car accident drinking. Luckily for him, the other person was drinking. And he really, he doesn't really do much other than pay a fine, and his insurance company picks up the rest.
Wow, that to me that is for a non-Yankee fan to watch that because he had some iconic hits in Yankee history. But
And I
he's a bad
remember
guy.
him. I remember watching him from when he was probably 22,
Right.
Years
'cause
old.
You saw him in the minors.
He played with Bobby.
In the Bobby Dickerson days, yeah. That's a really, that to me is a fact. Pavano, I can see. Leyritz is a lot of Yankee fans would maybe have something to talk about there, but
there's a couple other guys in that Leyritz category. You know, there's the Knoblauchs, there's the Chad Curtises.
Chad Curtis.
There's
those guys are
the
guys
John Wetlands.
Oh my God, I didn't think of him. I hated John Wetland.
So the funny thing about John Wetland, my wife thought he was like the best thing since sliced bread. Loved him. Thought he was so hot. And then this story about him, and she was like, "Oh my God, you got to be kidding me! Like, what a piece of crap."
Yeah, I mean, forget about the guy. Just he was so cocky. I couldn't. The guy that looked similar to him.
Go figure, a closer that's cocky.
I know, seriously.
That's what was so great about Rivera.
Wait, so is Wetland your number 3? No,
he just came up as one of the head
Who's
douches.
Your number 3?
Number 3, you got to go with A-Rod. And it's just, you know
you
what?
won't get an argument from me on that.
And I'm not
That's
even.
the
I
one
don't even
bing,
need
bing,
to
bing. It's the one
explain.
we share.
I don't even need to explain it, other than the fact that free pass. That's it. It's just he was at the freaking inauguration, dude.
I know.
All right, granted, now J-Lo killed it there, and she was there, and the only reason he's there is because she's there, right? But think about it, like that dude has pulled off the biggest ruse in sports history.
Everything comes his way, and that's what's annoying. And deep down, the truth is he's wasn't a winner. I mean, for me, the glove slap. There's a whole bunch of. You know,
we talked about the glove slap,
and also like I've said this before on this podcast. I do think that Jason Varitek, because A-Rod had this larger-than-life quality when he was a player, and nobody really messed with him. And the fact that Varitek took him on changed, in my opinion, everything. And even though the Sox in the playoffs were down 3-0 and all that stuff, but
it changed.
the fact that Varitek was like, okay, you're 6'4", 235, and you're the richest guy in baseball, and you might be the best player, screw you if you're going to show my guy up. And if you're going to talk back, because A-Rod had no idea that anyone would call him on anything.
No, he didn't expect that.
Dude, I will tell you.
Alex Rodriguez is a big guy. He's
huge.
I mean, he could be a big pansy for all I know. He'd probably kick my ass, but I'm not going to, who cares?
He's like a mini Aaron Judge, but to us, he's gigantic. So that's fantastic. So I'm going to go through my list, and it's funny because I'll just tell you that, like, I had sort of A-Rod and Jeter as a tie. And so how do
you have A-Rod and Jeter as a tie?
Okay, so here's the deal. Because A-Rod, just about the things I just talked about. And the thing about Jeter that I didn't like as a Sox
he's just
fan,
too good.
A, he beat us, right? That's A.
Yeah.
But B, in a way that's different than A-Rod, he was too perfect. Like, he never said anything interesting. He never did anything interesting.
He was very boring
He was
interview.
just too clinical. And, like, I like guys that are real human beings. As a journalist, I've interviewed hundreds of these people, and it's hard to be a pro athlete and give sincere answers all the time, but like he gave bullcrap 24/7 for 20 years, and I just I got sick of it. I respect him, but you know what? I didn't like him because he was too cute and too perfect.
Now let me ask you this: do you think he is just smarter than everybody else?
I think
that.
Maybe,
because look at all these other athletes that open their mouth or open their life.
Yeah, but LeBron talks.
What do we have to talk about Jeter? We have gift baskets for girls that he hooked up with, all smoking hot girls. Right. Think about. And I just got done watching this Tiger Woods thing on HBO.
Yeah, but
think about that.
Right.
Think about all the Shillings, everybody else. Right. And what do we have to talk about Jeter?
Nothing.
Being too good.
But that's part of why I don't like him.
People hate him.
Right. But here's the one thing I'd give him tons of credit for, and if I was smart enough and I was in his position, I would have done it too. Don't get married when you're playing. Like, that was the smartest thing he ever could have done. It's just like, it's not like he couldn't have fallen in love or whatever, but he's like, you know what? It's just, I want to focus on this. And maybe he was straightforward with all the women that were in his life, but I think that was really smart. But he represents that smarmy, smug Yankee crap. And we went over A-Rod. Now, the next set is kind of weird because I'm gonna just put
Jeter, A-Rod. Those are your two.
Yeah. Well,
so
I'm sort of putting them together.
Okay.
I'm putting Brett Gardner aside, and the John Wetland reference brings me to my John Wetland Jr., which is Mark Teixeira. I could not stand that guy, and maybe it's because maybe I would have felt differently if he ended up a Red Sox. He could have easily ended up in a Red Sox uniform. Yep. But he just seemed like, and now he's trying to be all nice and stuff when he's part of the media.
Right.
But I thought he treated the media like crap. He was cockier than cocky.
He was smug
in a world of cocky people, and I just didn't like him. Period.
I liked Mark Teixeira as a player. He did pretty good. But what I didn't like about him as a player is that towards the end, towards like the last third of his career, he just could not
stay healthy.
Well, no, he could not hit against the shift.
Yeah.
All he ever did was pull the ball.
Right.
Righty or lefty.
And then my sort of honorable mention, if you want to separate A-Rod Jeter, is Reggie Jackson.
Is it just because he's, again, like he's just a smug and just...
Part of it, and he represents that Yankee arrogance that I grew up... You understand, I grew up for the first first 2004, so 33 years of my life, I just felt like a loser. Right, I mean, I was just a loser of a fan. Like, there was no confidence,
right?
And like he was part of the
then
thing.
You
that
point
just
to, he's one of the guys that
me.
point.
Yeah, and so the whole thing with the tight pants and the bat, he was like the first bat flip guy ever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so
well, he was the straw that stirred the drink.
Yeah. Right. I mean, when you read about the history with him and Billy Martin, it's really entertaining. But I had to put him there because it brings me back to my childhood when we just felt so inferior.
I did when I was working in the media, we did a story on The Bronx is Burning. They made a movie.
Right. The 30 for 30 stuff.
Yeah, it was a lower budget one. It wasn't like in the theaters. Yeah, it was good, but they filmed it in Norwich, where the Norwich Navigators played. I don't even remember what they used to be I don't even know who played there now, but they used to be when the Norwich Navigators played there. And we went down there and we interviewed the Reggie Jackson guy. I can't remember his name. And, oh God, who else was it? I don't know, like the director or something like that. But it was interesting, to see how they green screened the all outfield and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
it was a good production. I remember it was good. So that's basically it. I mean, I have Jackson, Teixeira, A-Rod / Jeter. You have Pavano, Jim Leyritz, and A-Rod. On the positive side, I have Guidry, Righetti, Mussina. You have Greg Nettles, Don Mattingly, and Derek Jeter. Now, in our next episode, we're going to flip the script. And we're going to do the Red Sox. We talked a lot. We like to break this up in like 20-minute increments. So we're going to record another episode, push it out there for you guys to talk about our 3 favorite and least favorite Red Sox next.
I think I could figure out more than 3, but...
Okay, well, I know that. And I could have come up with 20 for the Yankees. But listen, this is Fanbase, a deep dive into the greatest rivalry in sports. He is John Senecal. He is the straw that stirs the drink. And I'm Brian Shackman. You can catch us wherever you're listening to this podcast now, Apple, Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so check us out and share.